At this time, we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Public Works. This is January 13th, 2025. Betty, roll please.
Mayor Boyd.
I'm here.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Here.
Alderperson Estercon.
Here.
Alderperson Hanson.
Here.
And Alderperson Ledvina is excused.
Thank you. Next item, public comment upon matters not on the agenda. Comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. Anyone in person or virtually have any public comments upon matters not on the agenda? If so, please just state your name. For the second time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda? Third and final time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda? Now is your time. Let's move to the items. Item 1, approval of the December 9th, 2024 Board of Public Works meeting minutes. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Carpenter. Any discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 2, consider and possible action on award of contract for 9th Street Reservoir Overflow modifications. This is going to Scott.
So our consultant, Robert E. Lee, received bids on December 18th for a contract for our 9th Street Reservoir flow modification. The project basically involved modifying our existing ground storage reservoir so that met the Wisconsin Administrative Code with the overflow. There was 8 bids. The low bid received was from Josser Brothers, an amount of $68,500. Staff recommends awarding it to Josser for $68,500. We had budgeted $125,000 for this project, which also includes the fees for REL.
Very good. Thank you. Questions, comments, or motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, seconded by Alderperson Hanson. Additional discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, consideration and possible action regarding SEH's proposal for MSC Expansion for design and construction engineering services. This too goes to Scott.
So in our 2025 budget, the council approved $25 million for the MSC expansion. The expansion is going to include expanding the current facilities for equipment and vehicles, office expansion, and necessary updates to facilities to meet ADA requirements. The funding would also include the consultant fees, construction, and additional interior office furniture for the office expansion. So what you have in front of you are current consultant SEH. They've been working for us for a couple of years with the design and the stages, and our last contract with them was basically for the new fuel tanks at the MSC. Basically what they got in front of you is a proposal broken out for the design, the construction administration, and then some miscellaneous expensive. Their total above proposal is for $566,444. Basically, the tentative schedule for the expansion would be to complete the design in 25, bid the project in 26, and construction taking place in 26 and 27. So when we got these proposals from SEH, staff met internally, which would be the assistant city administrator, the city administrator, finance director, our city attorney, myself, and our maintenance supervisor, kind of discuss, with this proposal, should we go out and solicit additional proposals or not? Basically, we kind of summarized here, if we were to go out to solicit proposals, potentially we could be delaying the project for 12 months or more, because it will take several months to solicit proposals. And then if a new consultant was hired, the consultant would kind of have to start the design process from the beginning. Design costs would be higher to hire a new consultant due to the design fees needed to basically develop the preliminary design that SEH has already done. And the other thing staff looked at, what is the going rate for design and construction administrative for consultants we paid recently in the past. When we did the VFW pool in Nelson Pavilion, the city paid Grave approximately 8.96% for design and construction service for the VFW pool. And then the city paid recently McMahon approximately 6.7% for design and construction services for the Nelson Pavilion. If the SEH proposal is approved, their fees would be approximately 3.76 for design and construction services, and that includes the fees we already paid them today. So at this time, staff is recommending SEH's proposal in the amount of $566,444. We do have a representative, Trevor Frank. He's on virtual. If there's any questions specifically to their proposal.
Thank you. Questions, comments? It clearly seems like it would be a pretty reasonable price based on the comparisons that you have. Alderperson Carpenter.
So the 3.76, Scott, that you stated, that's all the way through the construction and
Correct.
everything.
Correct, everything.
And I understand. I mean, the project's a lot bigger than any of the other ones, so your fees can be lower when you have a higher dollar value. But, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, you did address it as well too, but any concerns you have with, SEH? Sounds like not,
Well,
correct?
they've been very good to us, especially from kind of the long it's taken for the staging of this process. Originally, we're going through that we're going to probably design and bid it in stages. Now it's going to be everything at once. They broke out, for example, the fuel tanks because we didn't think we were going to be doing the expansion in anytime soon. So they broke that out and did that to design and construction services. And then, like I said, we just recently had this 88 audit come in. We got all our buildings, and the council will get the report in the near future. But we have a lot of ADA issues with our existing facility, parking lot, and that sort of thing. So you're going to be looking at a lot of improvements for the existing facilities to get it up to ADA standards. The parking lot's going to all be existing parking lot tore out because the ramps, the sidewalk, none of it meets ADA standards to this date. So when this project is done, the intent of this is, as we propose to the council, this is gonna, a municipal service center, when it's all done and said, will be set up for the next, hopefully, 20 to 25 years, allowing for us for all expansion, staff expansion, and that sort of thing.
Thank you. By the way, you just do a big bomb with the ADA
Yeah.
information we're going to get here. But again, that'll be tiered and it'll be, it'll work itself out over time. I mean, many facilities throughout the state and the country are deficient. So, but they did identify a number of issues that we'll address over the coming years. Questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
So Scott, you mentioned that they've already done the preliminary design work. Can you just talk about that a little more? So we hired them specifically to just do the very initial stages?
Yes, so we originally did a preliminary design looking at the different stages, expansion. The actual expansion was a combination of, taking our existing facility and where the equipment is now, we call it Unit B. It's more kind of a heated storage area, expanding on the stages to kind of fit the city's budget. That included expansions stages as far as our Unit D, a cold storage. And we actually had it set up originally that way because the ticket price for everything all in was very extensive, so we thought we would just extend it over a few years. Now with the intent of this is take all that preliminary design that they have, incorporate it into one big design, come up with construction documents to bid, and then go out to bid and then do the construction of it.
Okay.
Thank you. By the way, I'd make a motion to approve the SCH's proposal for MSC Expansion Design and Construction Engineering Services.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Esserkan. Additional discussion or comments? I don't think we'll need him. Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And that goes to council.
Council next, correct.
So that goes to council next. Item 4, consideration and possible action on subsidizing street tree costs. This is coming from Alderperson Hanson, and you have a memo embedded. So do you want to just take it then, Alderperson Hanson?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So in February of last year, the Park Board had a discussion on street trees, and the city forester at the time, Don Melikar, did a survey of surrounding municipalities to see what their policies were regarding street trees. The Village of Ashwaubenon, I'll just quote here, this is what they sent to Don at the time. Residents can purchase trees for established neighborhoods if they currently don't have any. We charge $100 per tree, and provide a 5-year warranty. This is a cost-sharing partnership between residents in the village to get trees planted in established neighborhoods. So they just charge the flat $100 fee. If the cost of the tree is more than $100, which it has been recently, they just subsidize it. Now, they do have the caveats about it needs to be in an established neighborhood. The homeowner cannot have any trees currently. Well, what I would like us to consider is adopting a similar program, but not having those restrictions in there and just opening it up to all residents, where we just charge them $100 flat fee and subsidize the amount over that. So this last year, we had 124 street trees ordered. The cost of a street tree was $147.70. So if we had a similar program, we would be subsidizing $47.70 per tree this year. And that would have cost the city $5,914. I'm talking to the Parks Director. He would recommend, though, actually budgeting $10,000, which would be able to cover annual increases in the cost of trees. And then also, he anticipates there would be more orders from residents because the cost would be more manageable for residents. So that's something that I would propose we budget for in 2026 as part of the Parks, Recreation, Forestry budget. And then just in conclusion, kind of why I brought this forward, the cost of street trees fluctuates every season. So we have a spring and a fall tree planting season. And so it can be a little confusing to kind of market the program when the costs are constantly fluctuating. I think it's a lot more simple to just have a flat $100 fee. I also think it's more affordable to the residents. $147 is, stretches some, budgets for a lot of residents, where $100, again, is more manageable. And, obviously there's a lot of benefits to not only homeowners, but the city to be planting street trees. So I think it is something that justifies a cost share. Now, I will admit, though, we already do kind of cost share it in that we do plant the trees at no cost to the resident. So that does take staff time. But again, I just think the flat fee, $100, would be more affordable for residents and would generate more interest in getting street trees ordered.
All right, thank you. Again, to clarify, when we say street tree, we're talking right-of-way, correct?
Right-of-way trees, yes.
So it would not be on private property?
No. It'd be between the sidewalk and the street.
Okay,
and
and we'd
the
want
terrace.
that to be clearly indicated
Yep.
as well, I would think so. I know Marty's on board out there as well. I mean, not on board, he can take any questions you might have. Marty, do you want to add anything to that since you're out there?
Mayor, I don't know if I would have anything to add. Alderperson Hanson explained his proposal quite well. I just here for any questions you might have.
Very good, thank you. I know we went back and forth on where this should go.
Yep.
Between Public Works and the Park Board. I think we're at the right spot.
Well, the city administrator says we're in the right spot.
Well, the city manager. We're trying
City
to.
manager,
we're
yeah,
trying to
right.
up our-
The only reason it's here is because the proposed program that Alderperson Hanson's discussing has to do with the street right away, and the Board of Public Works kind of oversees the right away. So figured we start here. If the board was okay with the concept moving forward, then it would just go. Marty would just budget for and go through his Parks Board as part of the 26 budget.
And again, with the assumption that the new manager would put that in the budget.
Right, that'd be his call.
I
Or
shouldn't
her
say-
call, I should say.
Yes, if she
Yep.
goes along with it. Questions we have. Alderperson Carpenter.
Go ahead.
We'll go first.
Okay, so Marty, the question is to you. Right now, when we do these trees, we only give like a year warranty on our trees, am I correct? And if I'm reading this site, if we copy a Schwab, it's a 5-year, right?
Correct. Yeah, Schwab would be a 5-year warranty. I guess with Alderperson Hanson's request, I don't know if he's requesting that we copy the 5-year warranty part of things or not. I didn't catch that. My recommendation would be to stay away from that and stick to our current policy.
I would be okay with that, yeah.
Very good.
And them are just a question I wanted to, okay. And then you did also, the other question got answered, the new city manager.
Yeah.
Well, Okay, this isn't guaranteed, whatever we
It
say
is not.
today, that it's gonna be in the budget.
It's
I mean,
100% correct,
That's all,
yes.
okay, thank you.
Yep. And then we don't know what the park board's going to say.
Yes,
No.
I mean, this has got a lot of steps, okay, thank you.
Yep. But it's a start. Alderperson Esserkan.
Yeah, is this in addition to, so we have a surplus of ash tree replacement trees,
Marty, you want to take that?
in addition to or in conjunction with it?
Yeah, what Alderperson Esserkan is referring to, we have a grant that is currently funding anyone who lost an ash tree that can be replaced. The program that's being proposed is completely separate from that particular grant. The street tree program is for any and all people wishing to plant a tree, whether they had one or not. Or they lost a tree that may not have been an ash tree. They could have lost a linden or an oak or a maple.
Okay.
Thank you. One question kind of comes up then. What's the max you can get for trees? Can you get like 2, 3, 5, 10 of them, the same person, or is there a limit? I don't see it here, but
Fit in. Yeah.
I can answer that, Mayor. The limit would be based off of our policy that limits the number of trees that can be planted in a right-of-way. So we have something that the city adopted, which is called the Arboricultural Specifications Manual, and that manual lays out distances and requirements that we must uphold while planting trees. So, for instance, you cannot plant a tree within 10, I believe it's 10 feet of a driveway. You cannot plant a tree within 10 to 15 feet, I believe, of a utility. So what has to happen is we have to go out, look at the right-of-way, find the limitations, i.e. Driveways, utilities, and then see where trees can fit. So more oftentimes than not, a standard city lot will average about 1.5 trees that can fit in their right-of-way. So obviously you can't plant half a tree, but that's the average that will fit.
very good. I'm just kind of troubleshooting going forward. If we have too many requests from one person, that would be a problem, but clearly that's taken care of. Other questions or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
So, refresh my memory here a little bit. So we do still have, from our ash board, we have trees going ahead, and we just opened it up to give out, trying to get rid of those trees as of right now. Am I correct on that?
I would have, yes, you are correct, Alderperson Carpenter. I would have to go back and check where we are in that phase process, because what we were going to do is going to go back and offer additional trees to people that may have wanted more than one, or that got stuck with only losing one tree because you needed to lose 2 trees in order to be offered one. And then after we exercise those routes, we would offer it up to first come, first serve. I don't know where we are in that phase process, so I would have to follow back up with you.
So are we a little bit of putting the cart ahead of the horse here? We have trees out there that are not even,
People aren't.
haven't absorbed yet. We don't know if they're being absorbed, and we're trying to give a discount. I mean, maybe we shouldn't even be, I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm just saying we have trees out there yet, as he just explained, left over that
That we're waiting to be claimed.
waiting to be claimed. So, I mean, I know this doesn't go till 2026, but my point is, we don't know where the other program is yet.
Marty?
I could chime in on that a little bit, if you don't mind. The grant that we're talking about, that grant does have an expiration date to it. So the program that Alderperson Hanson is speaking to is a long-term program that will get carried on year after year after year. The grant that you were referring to, Alderperson Carpenter, I do believe that expires, whether we give the trees out or not. I believe that expires within the next year, if I'm not mistaken.
But that's a little bit of my, sorry.
Go ahead.
Why I'm bringing that up, because if you can't get rid of trees already, why are we creating another program for the future? That is,
They have to pay for trees.
you know, yeah, you gotta pay for them, but I mean, right now, if we can't, that's the only thing I'm saying. I'm not against trees. I have trees in my yard or nothing. My
If they're
point,
not taking advantage of a grant,
yeah, you ain't taking advantage of a grant. Why are we trying to push something else out there? And then my next question is, and I think I know this answer. So when it's in the right of way, that does not include the water main, right? Because otherwise, most streets will only have, or a lot of new subdivisions will only have trees on one side of the street, not the other. Am I correct?
Correct.
So is that, when we
Correct.
talk about the right of way, that means we do not plant trees when the water main lays in the right of way?
No, I do not think that is accurate. I'm sorry. What I was referring to is laterals or electric lines that are crossing the right of way. So we try to stay away from those.
That's what I interpreted, Marty, and thank you. But I just wanted to make sure when you said that, because
yeah.
that would be a utility in the right.
Let's back up for a second. So in the street purchasing program in the past few years, how many trees were purchased
Well, 124 this last year.
past year? And that's at a cost of how much? Is that, that's in
$147 per tree,
and that was picked up entirely by
entirely by the resident.
and that came at a cost of 147. So that's how you got that number right there. And then
Yep.
he recommended go to $10,000 because of the different prices and the costs.
Yep.
So we know there's actually demand, that people actually ordered them, paid the 147. Well, let's just do it here. I mean, I'll wait for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And approve what? You got to be a little more specific here, because we've been everywhere.
The concept of creating this program, subject though to needing to be budgeted in 2026 by Parks and Rec.
And you're looking at $10,000?
10,000. Yeah.
I think you need any more than that, you think, or not? Because you're, what's that?
The $100.
With the city, yeah,
Yep.
subsidizing anything beyond $100.
Okay, $100 max per tree. Okay.
Planting in the right of way.
Yeah, the homeowner pays the 100, and the city would pay the
Subsidize
subsidize
the amount after that.
after
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. To continue discussion, I'll second that.
Am I allowed to ask questions?
Now, any questions or comments we have?
Am I allowed?
What?
Am I allowed to ask?
Are you allowed to ask questions? Betty can chime in. Betty, go ahead.
I have a question. So I just have a question on right of way because Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, but a few years ago somebody paid to get like 10 trees planted like along Webster or Ridgeway in the median. Is that also being subsidized as part of this program?
Well, that really wouldn't fit in this program because that would, when you're talking a median strip, it's really not it would not be adjacent to a home owner. I guess in theory, people, if there was a house adjacent to it, I don't know why someone would do that though if they were a homeowner.
And pay that just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just want to clarify right of way.
No, it's a good point. Can you tighten up a little bit, you think, or not? Or just leave it as is and just address it if it comes forward?
Yeah, I think that the Ridgeway, there was just one person who donated all those trees, but usually it's always just the terrace by the person's house.
Okay. And maybe it'll speak for itself when it says
Yeah.
terrace and right of way.
Yep.
All right, very good. Thank you, Betty. Other questions or comments from anybody? All right, again, just so we can clarify here, if we do approve this, this goes to the park board next,
Be part of Marty's budget process.
part of Marty's budget process. The council would not see it then.
No.
Okay, well, they would see it in
For the budget,
process
yeah.
as we go forward.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough, everybody? I can live with it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That'll quiet Alderperson Hanson with trees for a while.
For a little while.
All right, thank you. Item 5, consideration and possible action on Wisconsin Public Service contract for replacing decorative street lighting in the downtown area. Scott.
So our 25 budget included $30,000 for WPS to replace the existing decorative lights in the downtown, both on the east and west side. If you recall, about a year ago, we had this discussion. We picked a type of fixture which kind of closely matches our LED fixture with the Paragon. And basically what was decided at that time we would budget for in 2025. So what you got in front of you are two street lighting contracts. It's a little different here because originally, there were supposed to be, I think, a total of like 25,000 approximately. But you'll see one contract for east side lighting at $1,191.79, and the west side lighting for $12,875.16. So the east side lighting is significantly less because WPS inadvertently billed the city in 24 for $12,426.17. I attached the bill to your packet. So this bill was paid from our street light operating budget because the monthly bill was coded for street lights. When it comes to finance and City Hall, they got all these different bills from the gas and electric and then street lighting. So it inadvertently got paid. I talked to WPS about it. They don't know why this occurred, but they're looking into it. So in the result, with the additional monies here, the city is going to result in bonding less monies for the decorative lights. So 30,000, we won't be budgeting for or bonding for that amount. It'll be roughly 13 or 14,000. So at this time, staff is recommending approving the contract with WPS for replacement of the decorative street lighting in the downtown areas. I know a question will come up: when will that happen? Once the contracts are approved, and we send them to WPS, Finance Department pays for the street lighting. Then they'll order them and then start installation.
Very good. Thank you. Questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I want to thank staff for all their work on this. I know I was asking a lot of questions about it. Ideally they would all be the exact same, but this is the best solution we have since WPS will not use our decorative fixtures. So I'm glad WPS has this Paragon fixture that looks very similar. So I think it'll create a nice, consistent appearance in the downtown. So looking forward to seeing these go in.
Want to make a motion on that?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. Additional questions or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
So that $12,000 some dollars that came out of the other budget, was that missed?
It wasn't missed for the fact that,
It's not important now.
yeah. So what happens when the bills come in, it was coded street lighting. And, the staff and the finance department just thought it was street lighting because we get bills for street lighting all the time. It's not like we're getting billed for a couple thousand here and there. The city's actually paying for $40,000 to $50,000 to $60,000 a month in utility bills.
Yep.
And a good portion of that's street lighting.
Yep.
So it was no fault of the finance staff. It just coded street lighting. It got missed. And like the finance director and I had a discussion, it'll be part of the operating budget that was there, which results that will just be bonding less for in 2025.
Well, I should have said this, just a little bit of a joke. I was just wondering if that budget was too much.
I can tell you right now, my street lighting operating budget is probably in 24. It'll be a little bit over. Probably around $12,000.
$12,000 over. Additional questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, consideration and possible action on the 2024 storm lateral assessment charge for existing residential properties. This is going to Eric.
Yes. So each year we assign or set a value for the storm lateral assessment for the storm laterals that are installed in the existing residential or commercial in existing developed areas in the city. We've come up with a policy that there's certain criteria we use. For instance, 100% of the storm lateral cost is charged back to property owners. 20% of the storm main, if they do not have storm main in front of their property, is charged back to the property owners. And then we take a look at certain sizings and widths of lot and length of lateral to determine a cost. And we use the same criteria every year. In addition to that, we take a look at similar costs for the past 3 years, and then we average those out, and that's how we establish the annual cost that's used for this upcoming year's assessments. So we took a look at the last 3 years. We just completed 2024, and we did our calculations, and our storm lateral assessment cost for 2025 we're proposing is $2,180 per lateral. For the storm main, the assessment is $604.80 per parcel, and that's the utility picking up 80% of the cost, so that's only 20% of the cost going back to the property owner. So the total lateral and main assessment, if a person gets a storm lateral with our projects, is $2,705.60. Now, ironically, this is down from last year. Our last year assessment was $2,852.65. Part of that is we had a couple big projects this past year, 2024, that had a lot of storm laterals, 6-inch, and some of those prices were a little bit lower. So it's an average, it's a weighted average, so it came out to be a little less. So we're recommending that we approve those assessments, those amounts, and then later this year, we'll bring the special assessment public hearing and all the paperwork to the board for action for the specific projects, and then we would use this amount.
Very good, thank you. Questions, comments, or motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Esserkan. Any additional discussion or comments? Seeing there is none.
Oh, Dan has one.
Oh, I'm Alderperson
I
Carpenter.
just want to, Eric,
Sorry.
when you made that statement, so that's where the 5 years or the 25 years come in and all that stuff?
Yeah, so this is the assessment that when it's levied, we'll send out the invoices just about at the end of the project. So generally October, November, we send out invoices. Once the person receives the invoice, they have a couple different options. They can pay it up front within 30 days and not have any assessments. They can pay it back, in theory, up to 25 years or until they sell the property, whichever occurs first. Or if they hook up, then they have to pay the assessment right
And then
away.
it's at
So-
interest for 10 years and all that
Yes,
stuff. Okay.
yes.
Thank
You know the program better than me.
I just wanted to make sure that's coming forward at a later date.
Yes, absolutely. That is part of this, and when we bring it forward, when we talk to the property owners, we let them know, and then that'll be part of the special assessment
Thank you.
resolution.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, Eric, just for the public, can you kind of explain the logic behind the city covering 80% of the main, but the homeowner covering the full cost of the lateral?
Well, the reason being is, so the lateral being 100% really directly benefits the property, okay? So when the board discussed it, they felt that the property owner should be paying for the lateral portion. Now, the storm main, they felt that there were some benefits to the city to also get these storm mains in, and some people have storm mains, some don't. So when we carry the assessments forward later this year, you're going to have quite a few people that do not have that 20% or that $600 cost.
Yep.
So the decision was made by the board that the stormwater utility will fund 80% to kind of soften that cost. Otherwise, it'd be pretty significant. And then some people would be getting it and some people won't. So it kind of evens things out a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, consideration and possible action on the 2024 storm lateral assessment charge for existing non-residential properties. Eric?
Okay, so this is similar to the previous discussion item. However, this is for properties that are not single-family residences. And the reason being is our single-family residences, if you look at our developed areas, they're pretty consistent, 50, 60, 70-foot wide lots. When you start getting into non-residential use, it could be apartment buildings, it could be commercial, you start getting longer, wider lots. With the bigger lots, some of them need more or bigger laterals because they discharge more stormwater. So this was set up similar that the property owner, or the property owner pays 100% of the storm lateral cost. However, in this one, and again, they only pay 20% of the main. However, here, instead of a set cost for the main, it's based on the front foot. So, because again, a person who has a 200-foot long parcel would pay more than someone who's got a 100-foot wide parcel, if you know what I mean. And then in addition to that, there are 3 different criteria for the size of the storm lateral. As I mentioned, the bigger the parcel, the bigger the lateral needs to be. Most single families, a 6-inch is perfect. But there are some that need an 8 or a 12-inch lateral, so therefore we have criteria set for those. So for this, the proposed costs for 2025 for non-residential properties, it's $11.64 per front foot on the parcel. A 6-inch storm assessment is $2,414.06. An 8-inch is $3,089.92, and a 12-inch is $3,640.54. Those costs are the 6-inch and the 8-inch are both less than last year. The 12-inch is about $3 more than last year. So again, we take a look at the last 3 years, similar projects, similar size pipes. We come up with a weighted average, and that's how we determine that. So we're recommending that those rates be approved by the board for any non-residential properties that are included in our assessment boundaries. I do not know if we're going to have any this year, but we'd still like to have it updated just in case.
Very good. Thank you. Questions, comments, or motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Hanson. Discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, discussion of Charles Street Swale, and that would be Eric.
Yeah, we thought we'd bring this item just as a discussion to the board, keep you informed of things going on, and to talk about this swale in particular, but ultimately we've discussed at the board some type of maintenance program we want to establish for swales in general. So this is one of our probably a little more challenging swale because it's a really big swale, drains a lot of areas. We put together some information because of concerns from various residents, some wanting us to do more things out there, some wanting us to do less things out there. So we prepared this, and we thought we'd present it to the board. Additionally, just in case you get any calls or contacts, we are out there, and we did send letters to the property owners that we're going to be doing trimming. With the weather we've had, it's been tremendous. The ground is frozen, and we can get equipment in there. There's no snow, so our crews aren't plowing, so we're in there right now. We're going to be trimming over the next couple weeks. And there's other swales also that we're going to be picking up. So this was a perfect time. Now, just to give you a little background on the swale, this swale was built in the 1990s as part of the residential development. It drains from Martin Park and continues down to a stormwater management pond that's a little bit overgrown that we're going to work on also, but near the East River. When this pond was built, not all the streets were in at the time. Some were added in later, but it was built with very flat slopes. We're talking 0.1% to 0.53%. And to put that in perspective, a 0.1% slope on a swale is like 1.25 inches of fall in 100 feet. When we design our roads right now with our curb and gutter, which you can get a nice machine and make it smooth, 0.4% really is the flattest we'll go. So these are super flat swales. And on top of that, they're dirt. You can never get them perfect. So, so there were challenges with the swale. From a wet standpoint, and that's one of the complaints we get. On the lower end, they did put 4-inch and 6-inch under drain in, but I don't think that, we haven't gone out to check if it exists, where it discharges. This was quite a few years ago, so I'm not sure if it's really even working. The other challenge with this swale is it is within the 100-year floodplain for the East River, meaning that when the East River builds up, water is going to back up, or water flowing in is going to be restricted, and the water is going to sit in the swale longer. So that also adds to the nuances of this swale. Now, one of the things is, with the swale being flat, the impacts of the East River and the large drainage basin, this swale is wet all the time. And it's been wet pretty much from the beginning. If you look at the aerials in your packet, we went through the various photos through the years, and you can see it's been wet, because that's one of the complaints is it's wet, the swale shouldn't be wet, and it's always going to be wet unless it's piped. And the reasons for that is, number one, we talked about it's flat. When it's that flat, the water just isn't going to completely drain out, and it takes a really long time. And with our clay soils, nothing gets absorbed, so it sits in the bottom of the swale. But on top of that, it's a 270-acre basin. That's a really big basin. And if you think about all the houses in there, you're talking, hundreds, almost 1,000 houses. They all have sump pumps, and the sump pumps discharge all the time. So you've got a continuous source of water flowing down the swale. So that also adds to the swale being wet. And we experience this in other swales that don't have near the amount of service area as this one. So the bigger the service area, the wetter the swales get. And then, as I mentioned, add to that it's in the East River floodplain, so when the East River backs up, the water doesn't flow out as well. So that adds to a lot of challenges. And with the swale wet, we've talked about before, it's harder for property owners to maintain. It's harder to mow, it's harder to keep clean. So that's created challenges. Now, we did go out and take a look at and survey the swale this past summer, and we just kind of completed this fall putting our numbers together. Now, again, the swale, the slopes that we're finding are pretty close to the design slopes. I mentioned that the design slope went down to 0.1%. We calculated in some areas 0.14, pretty much the same. But there is sediment buildup occurring in the swale, as you would expect. The water discharges, fairly high velocity off the storm sewers. It's carrying sediment. Sediment's going to settle out over time. So we found, on average, we had about 7 inches of sediment built up in the swale if you average it out. There is one spot where there's 1.4 feet, but if you look at it from a profile, it isn't like there's a big hump in there. It's just a gradual little hump with more buildup. I don't know why, but we did notice that. And, the other thing is with the tall vegetation in there. The tall vegetation does slow the flow of water, which also causes sediment to settle out and build up in the swales. But again, we got to keep in mind, the swale's 30, 35 years old. So it's been there a long time. Now, we did take a look from what we believe the storm sewer is able to handle the appropriate storm events. It is a little difficult for the type of modeling we do. We don't have modeling software. You're talking, the impacts of a river, the East River, and 100-year floods, and even when the water, in a 10-year event, the river impacts that. So we don't have the capabilities to do a really detailed, but anecdotally, and from we're not seeing flooding. Since I've been here, there was flooding one time in the intersections out there, and that was like 2019, but the East River was really, really high that year. And we had heavy rains, and there was some backup. So, I believe our calculations are following what's occurring. However, that being said, it is something for us to keep our eye on as we go on. We will continue to clean the swale. As I indicated, we are out there right now cutting woody vegetation. We have been doing that periodically. We do go out there and check the swale. Each year we try to walk it, and then if people are dumping grass clippings, we send them letters and notices. This swale will be part of one of those bigger discussions we've had here in the past with Phragmites. Do we treat Phragmites on here? It's an easement, it's not our property, and if we spray Phragmites, sometimes the spray migrates in the roots and goes into people's yards. So those are all things we'll have to consider as we go on to the next steps. However, we just wanted to give you an update what we found with the swale and that we are still actively maintaining it. I think we've been doing a lot more through the years recently when weather permits getting in there. So we've gotten in there a couple times through the past 10 years, and then we're in there again this year. And this swale will be part of our bigger discussion at some point with how we want to deal with vegetation and things in these. So that's all I had for discussion.
All right, very good. Thank you. Questions or comments for discussion item only? Alderperson Carpenter.
Yeah, so Eric, as we go through this pictures that you showed here where this orange color, I don't know if you can pull up stuff. I just wanted to go through a little bit of this, if you could explain some of our photos. So it's a little...
I certainly can.
And then the orange shows the whole area that it covers. I understand that part of it. But then when you broke those down into your Charles Street and you got yellow lines going around them and different things.
Okay.
All the way down
So,
to Plain.
yeah,
Could you
so-
explain some of that for me?
Yeah, Exhibit A, and I don't know if, do you want it on the board or are you good if I just?
That's up to
otherwise,
the rest of them. I can see it here. That's up to the rest of this.
I'm fine. Well, you can get up there, can't you? Who's doing it?
Yeah, click on that right there, Scott. We're going to see how well Scott knows the system.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because I don't quite get it all, and I didn't get into checking.
No, it's,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I
Yes.
get it. So Exhibit A, that's the drainage basin in the city of De Pere. That's the area that currently flows through that swale.
Yep.
And if you take a look at it, it goes all the way up to Clay Street, down to Chicago. So it goes and picks up a large area. And then, of course, you can see all the parcel lines, which emphasize the number of residences within that that service area. And again, you think of the number of almost all of those properties. That was in the time frame we put some pumps in. Almost all of them have sump pumps. So that gives you an idea of the drainage basin. So then, if you want to go down to the next exhibit, Scott, really all we're trying to show you here is if you take a look at the aerials from 2000, 2005, 2010. So on all the way down to 2020, that we just put a cloud around the swale from each photo so you can see the changes year to year of the swale within the cloud. And that dark line in the center is where it's wet. So you can see even back in 1990, that was wet. It was wet in 2005. There has not been a significant change in the area that is wet. In fact, it's almost identical. But we just wanted to emphasize, because there are times people say, well, it's a swale, it should be dry. Well, when swales collect stormwater from really big basins, after a while, they don't dry out. They stay wet all the time. So that's what we were showing with that exhibit. And then if you go down to Exhibit C, so this is based on the FEMA maps of what the 100-year flood is. And the blue line represents the areas you would see water during a 100-year storm event. And obviously, not only does it impact the swale, but it's also impacting the roads, which is no surprise. That's always been that way. But we also took a look then and interpolated the data off of their cross-section. So during a 50-year event, where would water be sitting? And that gives you a similar idea. So all those areas in the pond, without even dealing with water flowing down the pond, that would be all wet. That would be a water. That was what the water surface would represent. So, and then the final one is, even during a 10-year event, if the East River was experienced a 10-year event, which again, 10% probability of any given year, that was the area that would be wet. So we were just trying to give you a feel for the impacts the East River has on the swale, just from a backing up standpoint.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very informative. This is very good. Very good information.
I mean,
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
this area was all built when I was working for the fire department. I know how wet that area all was and everything. So, these people all know that. You look at this 100-year map. I'm sorry to tell you, your home's underwater. or I'm not going to say your home's underwater. They were built without windows and different things to protect themselves. But I'm just saying, if you look at that, even look at the 50-year, some of these people are going to, that's what they get.
Yeah, I'm on Brule Road, so I just miss it. So
You know,
very, very close.
I'm just saying, and everybody wants to bring up climate change. What's to say this 100 years ain't good anymore? And I don't know that. I'm not going to get into all
Yeah, and
that.
people generally are aware of it. Scott?
And if I could just build on that, Dan, our Alderperson Carpenter, is that some of the complaints we get, and they have aerials with drone footage and stuff like that, saying, you got to do something. These streets are flooded. People are, water skiing or doing whatever. And it's just, if you look at, like the map that, Eric could indicate in your packet, when you get the 100-year event, well, look at the streets. They're full of water. This is the ditch. Here's the street. They're totally full of water. And they're going to be deep. And so, it's going to happen. And you're exactly right. Our GIS mapping, 100-year floodplain, it's been updated. Everybody that built in that area, basically their house, I think majority of the houses wouldn't be underwater, but there's a few houses that they would have water around their house if it backed up enough.
And I think some of those homes are required then without any windows in their basements and
Correct.
everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Thank you very much for that. All right, up next, item 9. Consideration and possible action participating with Brown County on the Safe Roads for All FHWA Grant. Eric.
Yeah, so the county had submitted for a grant to do a study under the Safe Streets and Roads for All. I'm just going to call it the SS4A. And it's a road safety program that the county oversees, and it's for all the towns and municipalities in Brown County, excluding Green Bay, who's doing this on their own. The purpose for the study is that it would make us, if we participated, it would make us eligible for HISUP, which is Highway Safety Improvement Program funding. So the grant is an 80-20 match, and FHWA provides 80%, and the locals would need to provide the 20%, and the cost share would be broken out by the municipalities based on the centerline mile of roads that they're responsible for. We feel like this would be staff feels like this would be a good thing for us to participate in, because then we would be, once the study comes out, they would evaluate our roads, and it would be just a high level evaluation. Are there pavement markings, signs, rumble strips, pedestrian crossings that could be installed to improve, or, and they look at accident history and things like that. But the benefit is, if they identify things, we would be eligible to submit for HISUP funding. Now, the amount in the grant proposal that Brown County is proposing for everybody, for us, is $3,963.71. That being said, that assumes everybody participates. We don't know if everybody's going to participate. The other local municipalities, the staff have indicated they're recommending to their elected officials that they participate, but there's a high probability some of the towns won't. They don't have the same traffic issues we have. So we still are recommending we participate. We're recommending that we set, say, a maximum level, and if you want to change the maximum, that's up to you, but I just said, okay, let's just set the maximum we would participate up to is $7,000. If it goes beyond that, we'd have to come back here, and then that funding would come from the engineering department's consulting budget, but that's what we're recommending. Again, you could change the amount, and you could say you're not interested in participating. We just thought there would be some value for us to be part of the program, and if they identify any shortfalls, that then maybe we could try to get HISUP funding to fix some of the bigger and more expensive ones.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree there's good value to this. I'll make a motion to approve this, just so we have discussion.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Hanson. And I like the maximum amount of $7,000. I just grabbed it out of thin air, but it seems very reasonable to me. Anyways, questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, Eric, I know you said kind of a high-level look at things. Just wondering how much they're going to drill down into, like, particular streets, though. Like, would they make a recommendation about Chicago Street or Erie Street, or, like, that granular, or would it be much more kind of big picture?
Fair question. I don't have the answer. I'm not familiar with this. We can definitely say, hey, these are some of the streets we have concerns with. If you want, if there's things you're interested in. But I'm hoping they'll look at those, because, again, those are some of our collector streets. You'd think they'd definitely look at arterial and collector type streets, because those are the busiest ones. The other one we could look at is say, hey, when you're doing the study in De Pere, we'd like you to think about the schools. A lot of the ones you mentioned are associated with schools. So we could definitely do that. But this is something that's new for us. And but I still think there's some value, and we could definitely try to steer it in a certain direction.
And do you think there could potentially lead to changes in some of our policies? Like, just thinking, I'm not saying we should make any changes, but could they come back to us and say, like, your policy regarding rapid rectangular flashing beacons should be changed? Or is that not necessarily something that they would kind of
I don't think it would go to that level.
Okay.
No. Because that's pretty detailed when you start looking at it. I think they're going to be looking at specific safety situations for specific locations, not a policy.
Okay.
Now, they could come in and say, well, a safety concern is, you should put RFBs here. Okay. That could be something they recommend. And again, our policy says if someone comes in and recommends as part of a traffic study, then we can move ahead. So that would fit right in with what we've got anyway.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing there are no more, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10, consideration and possible action regarding GV15 retaining wall design concepts. Scott.
So you're going to have to bear with me. I'm going to try to do a PowerPoint for the public in case they're watching. A lot of this information is in your packet. But GV 15 is going to require the construction of retaining walls. I do have, right here to give you an idea as a reminder, we have 5 segments, GV 14, which is basically the interchange to Lawrence Drive. Actually, will be starting construction this spring. Then GV 15 is Lawrence Drive up to Lostoffen. That's what we're talking about right now. GV 16 is the bridge, and that includes a roundabout at 57 and Southbridge, and then 17 goes from 57 to PP, and then 18 from PP over to Heritage. So basically, the county reached out to us as part of the basically the retaining wall has to be built. You can kind of see the railroad. If you go out there today, Red Maple goes under the existing bridge. They've looked at 3 different options. The preferred alternative at this point is kind of doing what we have having an underpass with the railroad bridge. So they'll build a new railroad bridge. There'll be a retaining wall basically from Red Tail Glen in this area, go approximately 1,000 feet over here into our industrial park on both sides of the road. And kind of give you an idea what they drew up looking west. This is kind of looking east, and you'll see what you have is the 4-lane facility, 2 lanes each side. There's a retaining wall on basically the north and the south side of the street. What we're here to talk about tonight is actually the aesthetics look. What do we mean by that? So when you build a retaining wall, you kind of there's 3 different kind of options that the county's presenting. Basically, this is an MSC panel. It's kind of an earth retaining wall. They have panels that actually will be stamped with a form liner. In this particular situation, you see the kind of the concrete rock type looking panels, and it would be stained. This wall costs approximately $90 to $100 120 square foot. The next type of wall is cast in place. One of the things you see in I-41 corridor is, for example, this is actually Mason and 41, but we have this, on pretty much every interchange going up. I believe some of the concepts going 41 south from Sharing Road, in fact, the new interchange, as you recall, it came before the board, and we wanted this to look like similar to Sharing Road. Yep. So what you're looking at is a cast in place, basically wall. What they do is use a form liner. In this case, right here is the brick, and right here is another stonework. This is kind of down in Raidstone. This is similar cost as the previous example, 90 to 120 square foot. And then the next type of wall is a soldier pile post and panel. This actually almost doubles in cost. It's 220 square foot. And what you have right here is you drive these pylons into the ground, and then these slide panels in between them. These panels are stamped with form liner and staining is applied. The other thing is the county wanted us to look at, these walls will have to have some type of safety railing on top. So it's either a chain link fence, which you see in a lower, a slide, or it's kind of a decorative railing on top. The decorative railings, $250 to $300 a linear foot. So you think at 2,000 feet, that's over $500,000. The vinyl coating is $40 to $75 a linear foot. It's a cheaper route, and the majority of it's in our industrial business park. The county actually is they actually prefer the chain link. It's a cheaper alternative, but it's up to elected officials wanting to go higher. I mean, the county is part of the contract. We would split the cost of this. One of the things to point out about GV15, because of the issue with the railroad and railroad bridge, right now that project's about $10 million over original estimate. So I mean that's about probably another $5 million that the city's got to come up and help fund. That's why as we review these aesthetics, kind of keep the cost of the mine. I guess that's it. So basically, what the county is, would like is kind of input from the board and council, because this will go to council, and kind of, what are your thoughts on what this retaining wall would look, you want to look like.
Go back to the, I'm sorry, Scott, the Sharon Road one that's got the brick on it, so we can see the fencing, right there, stop there.
Yep.
What kind of fencing is that right there on the left side?
It's a decorative rail.
Decorative rail,
Yep.
that would be the higher priced
yep,
one versus
yep,
the other
yep.
one. Odd question, but the bridge over the water, will that be a pedestrian walking bridge too?
That'll be a walking bridge, but the rail will be more of a decorative rail on the bridge. That's on GB16.
Oh, so we're talking just about the retaining wall
Yep.
has which of those things
Yep,
to put on?
so if you look-
which no one has access to, it's just kind of up there.
No, so if you look
Thanks.
at the, this aerial I got from looking from the west, basically you're looking, if you drive down there now, you go down in the hole, you go under the bridge and come back up. You're looking at the same principle that's gonna be there, but it's gonna be deeper and it's gonna be longer drawn out, and that's where the walls on both sides will go.
So the
Alderperson Carpenter?
future road is gonna go, at one time there was a little discussion going over or under, so
Yep.
it is now going under.
Under, yep.
Under their tracks.
Yep, and I can give you a little background on that. They were originally looking at going over, and part of the reason they chose not to go over is they found out the same issues. They had the same poor soils that they do at the interchange. Basically, it's kind of a liquid type soil, so they would actually have to, basically do what they're doing at the interchange. Take the project 2 to 3 years, build up the soils, get all the water out, then you still have the settling going on. And that structure itself was actually probably similar in cost to what they're talking about with the railroad bridge here. And then going over, the other issue with going over, as you recall, Red Tail Glen is right here.
Yep.
They would have another little bridge because we got to have the access there. So with this going underneath, with the new railroad bridge on top, basically there'll be an act grade at Red Tail Glen again, and it'll actually, allows the potential for development for this vacant field here, which we know is eventually going to develop.
So that being said, to make that grade at Red Tail Glen, that means they're moving, the tracks are staying in the same spot. If they're going deeper,
Yes.
okay, I was just gonna say, that's gonna be you're gonna have a great, it's already Red Tail Glen right at the top of that grade.
Yep.
If I recall correctly.
Yep.
So now, Red Tail Glen gonna be partway down in that? Because
it
I'm
won't
just
be
trying to
much- it
think
won't be
about
much
it when
lower.
when you say go deeper, that automatically makes your slope going higher up fast.
It's only approximately, I want to say 2 foot at the most. So I mean, the Red Tail Glen, you might cut a foot out of it. So it's not like it's gonna drop down. And then, like I said, it'll expand the other way. I know one of the challenges we have, and Eric and I got to work this out with the county. They're actually talking about putting a lift station there for storm, because right now that's probably one of the major roads we shut down on any moderate rain because it just can't handle the rain. So I mean, they're gonna typically have lift stations for sanitary sewer, very rarely for stormwater, but I know Green Bay's got a couple. So these are all challenges they got to work out. Right now they're trying to work out the logistics with the railroad. Working with the railroad can be challenging at times, as some of you may be aware of that.
Really?
So anyways, they're evaluating that. But right now it looks like this is the preferred alternative. They did look at grade, and what I mean by at grade, it'd be like taking Sharon Road and crossing the railroad tracks there. But due to the traffic and everything else and the volumes, they figured that's not even doable, because what'll happen, there's 11 trains a day, I believe, that goes through there. During peak hour, they would actually back up the roundabouts, probably all the way to 41 and even come across the thing. So, and then what that does, your north-south roads on Lost Dolphin, 57, PP, American Boulevard, all that stuff would be backed up. So they threw that one out.
All right, Alderperson Carpenter.
So as we look at these retaining, you're asking us for our thoughts and what we'd like to move
Right.
forward.
Thoughts, yes.
So when you look at these retaining walls, when you get to the most expensive one, the reason it's more expensive is it going to last twice as long as the other wall is going to last? Because they're putting them pilings in, number one, which is going to hold your soil from shifting and everything. So as they get designed, my question is, I mean, everything's so new, so it's hard to always say how long something's going to last or what it's going to do. I'm not an engineer or designer to say when we go with the other walls. I mean, we have the Sharon Road and different things, but where are you better off? I don't have that answer, but I'm just asking a question because if you go with that wall, I know why that wall is more expensive compared to the other two. So
So are we
in
gonna
the
end up-
in the long term, I know the county's trying to save money. Everybody likes to save money, but are you saving money in the long run? Sometimes I wonder when you try to go this route. And I understand it's money, it costs a lot of money, and we won't be able to get trees going.
Durability.
And then,
Durability. What do you think? What are the thoughts?
I don't, I'm not a wall, engineer, but every wall is meant to be designed to hold so much force from the earth behind it. These three types of walls are walls that, because this is kind of being overseen by the DOT, are walls that they've used in other areas for holding back. Like this right here is kind of the roundabout and bridge abutment over at Mason. I'm not sure exactly where this is at Wrightstown. But
That's right, down by the
Yeah.
old,
So-
old
Where
bridge
the old
area.
bridge was.
Yep. That's
So,
where that is.
they're all meant to, one way or another, to hold back the soils. And each wall's got to be designed accordingly because, your clay soils versus your gravel soils, they all have different, trying to think of the technical word, forces against that wall.
Right.
So as far as maintenance, I don't know if anything is going to be any different. The only maintenance I see is that staining. We all know that staining eventually, like this brick look here, or even the concept here, over time it's got to be restained. That's just a matter of how long it is. You look at 41 corridor right now. When we started Sharon Road to the north, what has it been? 15 years already, maybe 12 for sure. And a lot of that stain's holding up pretty good.
And that, my concern wasn't so much the stain, it's the wall itself, because once it's built, it's gonna be ours.
No, it's gonna be counties.
It's gonna be county, so if all of a sudden that wall started failing in the future, then it's a county's problem.
This is all county jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's a good answer to have.
Yeah.
That's all it's just I'm trying to get, my point is, I don't know which one's right, but I just wanna make sure that now all of a sudden we're paying our share now, but is our share forever? No.
Once it's constructed, it's the county share, my understanding, based off the agreement we signed. The only maintenance we may have, this is kind of one of the things Eric and I gotta work through with the county. They got a little thing in their, on the county facilities with storm sewer. And so we gotta work those issues out, because right now they gotta come up with storm ponds. Eric and his team will be working with them on the storm issues. They want the municipalities to maintain a storm sewer. So if anything we would have to maintain, it would be potentially that storm sewer, or i.e. potentially it might be that sidewalk, we'll call it, on the north side of the road. I know one of the things they are doing, I'll just go back to this here. They're building, you'll see the trail, it's tough to see here. The pedestrian facilities on the north side, they're making a wide terrace here if the city ever wanted to install sidewalk at a later date. So if there's a sidewalk or a trails, that would be something that we would be maintaining.
But we have a sidewalk on the north side, right?
We're having a trail
on the-
sidewalk. We got to call it sidewalk because
Yeah.
it's a 10-foot sidewalk from, basically the whole corridor.
So then the other discussion, I guess, goes back to, unless somebody else has some other on the retaining
Yeah, I do.
walls.
Alderperson Hanson?
That third option, Scott, is that used in like sound barriers too?
It's a similar principle. You'll see, and on the corridor, they'll put piling in,
Yeah.
and then they just slide the
See in Appleton,
panels
don't
in.
you? Appleton Oshkosh.
But
Yep.
what's different there's no earth pushing against it. You'll have somebody's backyard behind it, so there's no
Oh,
earth. So it's
just
built.
just a wall.
It's just a wall. It's built differently, like a glorified fence. Earth.
I kind of like the first option. The second option, you use that all the time on I-41. This location is pretty far from 41, so I think kind of leave that aesthetic to 41 and then have a different aesthetic for this location. But
I know Larry Dielon mentioned too, and I know you guys had conversations about this, about leaving some of the concrete panels without being decorative, just blank, so potentially murals could be added to it.
Well, I did ask the county about that after we had our discussion, and it's pretty. I don't think the county is going to allow any type of murals on their wall.
Deviation from it? Oh, any
Correct.
kind of murals on the wall.
Murals on their wall. Flat surfaces where you could put a painted mural on the wall.
Theory being there's 20,000 cars going to and fro.
Yeah.
Pretty visible, and it's 50 years we're going to have this thing or
I
whatever.
figure the murals will come already because the trains already get them.
Ah,
A moving mural.
that was just a thought. Glad you brought that up, and you asked about that as
Yep.
well. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say something. I tend to agree with Alderperson Hanson to differentiate that from Highway 41. I mean,
So what I'm hearing, not
well,
so
are
much,
we first of all taking away the really expensive thing, being that
No, I just wanted explanations on
Yep.
things and who's going to maintain it.
Totally
and
get it,
everything.
yeah.
it's county.
I wasn't that I was promoting that, but I mean, I understand why there's reasons behind it. I just want to make sure the city's not responsible 20 years from now
Yeah.
or whatever, have a greater responsibility. I mean, a lot of things could change and we could be responsible for all we know. But my point being as today.
As today, we want to be responsible.
And we should be cognizant of the fact as well too. This is going to be around for a very long time. People are going to see it, daily. Doing something on the cheap isn't the way we want to go as well. We got to make sure we put that in consideration, that we're picking stuff that makes sense, but not just because it's cheap, because this is getting expensive. We're going to have to pay for it either way. But by and large, I seem to agree with the concrete stand
On that, no.
but not the one that's much more expensive.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, so the county basically, they would rather not, this is an option that their engineers, that they've
Oh,
hired
if
to
we
do.
agreed to it, they'd pay for it.
Well, they would, but I mean, just basically these two concepts. The MSC panel may not be an option, or, because it's an earthen type of a retaining wall. So that may not be the route they go depending on the final design. So you're most looking at probably a cast in place type where you can pick the type of stamping. Now, the stamp like you see here could probably be similar
Wait,
on
does that
this.
just go against what we said or what?
Yeah, we want the first one.
What's that?
We
You
want the first
MSC
one.
We want the very first one.
Yeah.
The red
Yeah,
color.
You want the style.
We want the
s-
concrete panelish type
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
You want the.
So
you
it
want
doesn't
the,
look like Highway
No.
41.
No, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that could be a stamp look on this. Like.
Oh,
see
it
here.
kinda
could
like
be that.
white
Yeah.
stuff.
But it'd be the
Yeah.
concrete.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So we're,
Yep.
Yeah.
wait, we kind of agreed to one thing. And
Well, if you look at the, I got too many mouses here. If you look at Wrightstown, this was a stamp.
Yep.
You could
Okay.
potentially stamp this on this wall here.
Okay.
Okay.
We're all good now, I think. Yeah.
That's fine.
So what I'm hearing from the board is this stamp on either on the wall, but you're looking at this type of a stamp.
Yes.
Yes. By the way, does this go to council?
Yes.
Okay. That's helpful too.
And then the other thing
All right, what's
is,
next?
well, we're not done the railing.
Gotta go to the railing. That's just,
Wait till we get to the bridge. That gets
Yeah.
more complicated.
Okay, let's do the railing now.
So the railing is, the county would rather see the chain link fence on top of it. If you can do a decorative, because you just asked about Wrightstown here. That's more of a decorative railing up here. So you could go with that type of a railing or the black vinyl fence.
Will anyone see that? Is it functional on top? Are people up there looking over the
It's gonna
retaining wall?
be, there's nothing, no walkway, be yard or,
Yeah.
I mean, if there's nothing there, I
Yeah.
would think chain link would be fine, correct?
I agree.
Now
Am I
we're in the
missing
future,
something here?
or-
oh,
But
I totally disagree with that. I don't think it looks.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say.
The chain link
I
is.
bet you if it went on the other side of town, it'd be the other fence.
oh, wait, no, that's
just
fine.
as
That's
simple as
no,
that.
no, but
Yeah, that's a great argument. Go, make that's great.
That's a chimpsy, I don't want to
The
downgrade
chain
any,
link- the chain-
any community, but if you go farther south, as you drive along and you see stuff like that, and I think that doesn't look nice.
Fair enough.
Well,
You just convinced me.
Yep, and then the other thing is to point out, we talked internally, you're on this side of, because I even asked the question, can we split it?
What's
Can you
that?
go Decorative, east of the
Oh.
tract, because you got homes in the back, and then the west of it is kind of a, industrial park. They rather not split it, so, they can look at it, because we thought about the same thing, if this was in your backyard, we want the chain link look, or do you want the decorative look?
So
Granted
if,
here-
if we want the more expensive one, is the county necessarily going to agree to pay the other 50%?
At this point, they actually, any aesthetics, they would,
There we go.
go 50-50 on.
They would.
Then I'm fine with that. Then
I mean, I'm not trying to raise the price of something, but
no,
again, gonna be there for how many years?
it's what I said. Long lasting, and we want
Long
very
lasting
good.
thing, and why are we gonna chimp out
We don't want
something?
it. No.
So then what I'm hearing then is that, that one brick and then decorative railing on the top.
That's what we're
Yep.
doing. Yep.
So if you want to make that recommendation, there you go.
I'll make a motion to approve the decorative
Railing.
concrete stamp.
Yep.
You know which one, right?
That's like the
And then
tannish
the,
color, not the red one.
And then the
The
rail,
you can just say the decorative stamp that's shown on the MSC panel.
Yes.
decorative stamp shown on the MSC panel, and then the railing would be the
Decorative railing.
decorative rail.
Yep.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Carpenter. Any additional discussion or comments? We're building a bridge, people,
Yep.
and a retaining wall.
So if we do have to use the second option material, it wouldn't be the red brick like it is on 41, correct?
There, no, you wanted the, sorry.
Yeah.
We
You
want
wanted
want to
this-
be the
this
one on the
earth
left.
tone right here.
Yep,
Yeah.
just like that one right there.
Yep.
Yep.
This look, but with, Scott, go forward one.
On that wall.
type
Yep.
of-
It'd be this type of wall, the cast in place concrete cantilever, but with that look.
That look.
Very good.
then-
Alderperson Essercon.
So, and then it's currently on one side, there's a trail, and there's going to be a sidewalk, where we're calling it
Nope,
sidewalk.
so I'll pull that back up. So if you look here, so you're looking east, right? This side, right, see that red truck? That'll be a 10-foot sidewalk trail.
Okay.
And on the south side is nothing, but they're actually making it wide enough in case one day city wanted a sidewalk down there.
So there might be, so.
Could be,
Okay.
potentially.
Well, then, the nicer railing.
Other questions or comments?
There's too much.
That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11, consideration and possible action on GV16 bridge design concepts.
Now you gotta let me get set up for this one.
All right, Scott.
User error.
And by the way, while Scott sets this up, we are still working, a number of us, to try to secure funding for aspects of this moving forward. That doesn't change. So we have a lot of things prepared. We're talking to the future senators and representatives. So that doesn't stop. So,
There are senators and representatives now. They just got sworn in.
yep, no, I know. So we've already met with one of them. We're meeting another one next week. So this will continue.
I know it's crazy with Eric and I. We attend all these different meetings, and we got DOT meetings, so it's just like
Yeah,
a lot of big projects happening in the Pere in the next few years.
lots of stuff.
So let's talk about the bridge. So one of the things I want to start out by, as you recall, the bridge, the city, the county got a $50 million grant for the construction of that bridge. So one of the things they found out so far in the process, any monies that are not expended on the bridge can then be used on GV15. Because right now, I mentioned earlier that, they're looking at, the original estimate for that segment is probably gonna be 10 million higher because of the railroad stuff. So if, we save 8, 9, or whatever $1 million on the bridge, and I'm saying that to keep this in mind as we go through the aesthetic, because it's the same principle. Any savings we have, we can shift over to the bridge. So what we're looking at is kind of, this is an aerial concept of the bridge. What they're looking for, we're going to start from underneath. So underneath is basically, you won't see it. Kind of like the Claude alleyway. If you're on a Fox River Trail, you can see underneath the bridge. Underneath on what's basically, we're looking at these, this little cross structure here, and the columns and kind of the pure cap here is basically plain Jane concrete, just as you see. Square rectangular, columns going up, kind of a flat thing where it comes out of the water, and then a cross beam. No stamping, no nothing, plain smooth. At this point, the counties recommend this option, basically because they feel is really, why do we want to spend that money on aesthetics? There's nothing underneath you can't see, type of thing. Unless you're a home there or a boat, you won't see it. Now, they're not saying they won't. I'll show you the other options we can do for underneath as we move forward, but this is kind of what they're showing. Basically, this is their standard design.
And that matches what's at the Claude Alloy Bridge right now.
Well, no, this is Claude Alloy is a little bit
It's all the way
different.
across, right? It's
Yeah,
solid.
Claude Alloy is all the way across, one solid.
There's no hole in between.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no holes in it. It's all solid
Yep.
wall.
Yeah, kind of decorative, if you will.
And they got some,
Slits.
there's a little more decorative
Yeah.
on that side. So the next thing that they could look to do is you can have an enhanced rectangular column here. basically what you see what they would stain it, type of a thing. And then basically, the bottom here on the bottom, which, you're barely gonna see when the water's high, it'll go up and down, they could stamp that. That actually option there for the entire bridge would be $450,000. Basically stain what you see. So if I go back to previous, this here is all stained with the color to
That's
be
2
chosen.
million per pier.
What's that?
2 million per pier. That one right there.
Yep.
Okay, now go to the next one.
And then basically you add another 450,000. We stain it to color to be determined, and then we kind of stamp it and color it on the bottom. The next option is what they call a flared trapezoidal column. And what that means is you can kind of see these aren't squared, they're more flared. There's no concrete finish on it, no concrete staining. It'd be plain Jane like the very first one I showed you. But believe it or not, because of the construction methods and how to form it, that's 990,000 additional, or 110,000 per pier. Then you actually take that option, the enhanced flared with trapezoidal columns, you stain it, and then you stamp the bottom part. That right there is 160,000 per pier, or a total of 1,440,000 additional dollars just to get that look. Then we have to look next on the bridge part of it. They have the parapets and railing. Basically, what they're looking at doing is, the Cloud always kind of got a standard railing. They're actually proposing this kind of a decorative type C3 railing, the county is. Because, you're going to see that part going as you drive by.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it when I get it to the next thing. They're also talking when you get above the bridge, having, above the girders, that railing would be kind of a stamped both sides similar to it. Kind of, you'll see here's the stamping.
And it'll be on both sides.
Both
outside
sides?
and inside.
So you'd have that and that on the same side. And then the other thing they're looking at, because there's going to be sidewalk on both sides of the bridge, they're looking at having 3 pedestrian bump outs, or lookouts they're calling them. So
Cool.
3 on each side for a total of 6 for a cost of 60,000.
Those will be impressive.
Oh, no, now we got to put flashers there so they can cross the road and go both sides.
And then the other,
Speed bumps.
No RRSVs.
Speed bumps.
then the other thing they thought, okay, if the pier wants some type of a decorative pylon, they wouldn't look like this, but there'd be something on each end of the bridge you could potentially construct. You're looking at roughly 66,000 per pylon, or a total of 264,000. This is just something that, the council decades ago came up with this concept and design. Not, if the city wanted something not like this, but some type of a pylon, they could look at doing it. And that's another enhanced cost.
And they're recommending that, right?
Nope. So I'll go through real quick what they're recommending. I'm trying to look at my memo as well as my memo says, okay, basically underneath the bridge, we'll go back to the beginning.
They're recommending the first option.
They're making the first option right here. Plain Jane, as you see, basically rectangular columns with a constant cross finish, no concrete finish, no color. That's what the county is recommending. Your options, you could choose one of the 4, which is take this and stain it, and have a stamp underneath. Go with a trapezoidal, plain Jane, and then that trapezoidal with the, stamp finish.
Let's just start right there and go
Yeah,
one
start
at a
there.
time
Yep.
here. What are you guys thinking? Thoughts?
I like option 2 with the staining. I don't think the trapezoidal shape is worth the cost, but
And that adds on how much?
450.
A 1.2% increase of the overall bridge construction.
1.2% increase.
That's what it says on the
Yeah.
bottom.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Does this all, because I know they said there'll be money left over. The money left over is based on what we're picking right now.
Right. So, like for example, if we chose this, that 450 would go towards this, the bridge versus going over to GB15.
Okay. Alderperson Carpenter?
So this is going to fall again. Who maintains our bridge right now downtown? If it's going to need any painting, the coating,
That's going to be us.
So that's why I just want to get into all
So,
that. You know what I mean? Because we're going to have to bid all that out. We can't do none of this stuff ourselves.
That'll be $1
So
million
I'm just-
in the near future to restain that bridge.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to get to. I mean,
But
it
the-
looks very nice,
So
but
what makes more sense moving forward?
more dollar value sense under the
Eric?
bridge.
But he's talking, Alderperson Carpenter's talking about this bridge.
Oh, yeah.
County would.
Well, this,
County.
right here, I'm
This
sorry.
is the county.
This is the county bridge.
Yeah, the
This-
The
county is
Claudel, I thought you
Not
were
us.
referring to
This-
Claudel.
So the county would always, any staining needs to be
Would be
done.
them.
They have to maintain it.
Correct.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to,
I-
once
I
again, get into
misunderstood, yeah.
who's covering what costs at what time. That's,
I apologize, I misunderstood.
okay, because like, we're not on that, but when we get farther in, why I wouldn't go with the other one?
Yep.
Because our bridge right downtown has them two spears and none of the lighting or nothing ever's been put in.
Correct.
It was all designed with the tubing and everything, you know, I'm just saying, and none of it's ever been done.
Okay, so all the person Hanson right now is floating the idea of the second one. Floating. I'm actually okay with the second one with the decorative stamps. It's going to be a little bit more, but
Is there any other advantages of the trapezoid one except just aesthetics? Is it?
It's just aesthetics. It just, you're not gonna really see it. I hate to say it
But no,
as a
how
person,
visible is
but
this
if
anyway?
you're,
Yeah.
you're on a boat, you say, oh, look at, they got a little, trapezoidal look.
and no one did well in geometry anyways. They
I thought maybe it had
have no idea what trapezoid is.
It's actually odd to me that it costs more, but because it seems there's less material. But I don't know how to build a bridge, so
I think it'd be more material with the trapezoid one, right?
I don't know how to build a bridge.
I don't know how they come up with
I
costs.
don't know.
man.
I'm okay with the second one because we could be here forever. At least,
Yep.
At least it brings it then to council because they're gonna just
Yeah.
God knows where they're gonna go.
All right, so let's talk about the railing,
Railing.
or the bridge. So basically, the cut stone surface texture, which is, this here on both sides
Yep.
of the,
Yep.
concrete, the county's recommending that. It does cost $450,000 more,
Go with that.
but they are recommending that type of a stamp, the color to be determined. The other thing is the county's also recommending is the vertical, the decorative C3 railing. They're recommending that as well.
I dig both those things.
Yep.
Yes,
You got that right.
I
Good
agree
with
on
that.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
The lights I just put on there, it's gonna be continuous black lighting, like we see in our industrial parks, or even if you on GV on Monroe, I mean, it's decorative street lighting.
Ledgeview.
We'll carry that type of lighting through the bridge. Then the county's recommending the lookouts, three on each side of the bridge, so it costs us $60,000.
That's great. Yes.
Yep,
Yep.
no, that is,
Yep.
they have that on the Wrightstown Bridge too also.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yep.
just,
Totally hear you.
not three of them, but yes,
Yeah, that's where the concept comes from.
yes.
They
And
got
then,
that right.
then the other thing is, does the board and council want to put some type of a pylon for roughly $250,000?
I say no, because once again, I just stated how this bridge has it right here, and nothing's ever been utilized into that.
I mean that. I get that, but what about something else that could be decorative?
Large statues.
I think, well, what are you thinking? I mean, I think that bridge they're proposing is very nice looking as it is with the county. I mean, you can come up with whatever you think. My next question was going to be on the light poles that go up there, that are we planning on not putting any city stuff, or can't we put anything on that, or are the poles going to be designed that we can put flags on or not? I don't know if that would be the future of something.
That I'll have to ask that question then.
I'm just saying, to me, that,
Kind of like we do now.
like we do on this bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
That would be some of
they
my-
got flags that are now on this one.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm asking.
Does the 141 bridge, the new one, have a decorative stuff going on the bridge? That's the newest bridge I think that's been built. I'm just trying to think of some big bridge over the Fox River that's got potentially, like we have in the Cloud Alley Bridge, those two. What are those things? What are they? What are they? There was something. They're supposed to replicate something. They're supposed to, like a sail or
I
something.
thought they made the bridge
That
go
was
faster.
whoever's.
That was what your bridge designer way
From
back
Milwaukee,
in the day.
yeah.
Yeah, that guy was from Milwaukee.
I have no idea. It was before my time.
Oh.
I mean, I'm fine either way. I mean, I'm not wed to this. It's what, 450,000 more?
264,000. 66,000 per pylon. Then you guys gotta figure out, dream up something to come up with a.
Will the council still see this if we say, let's not go with this? Will they still see it that they can debate over and might come up with something?
Yeah.
or- Okay,
That's the whole intent. I'm gonna do his presentation.
all right, cool. And then you'll just say we decided not, and that's all we had. That's fine.
So, I'll kind of run through it again so I can help Betty out.
I'll make a
So-
motion to,
Okay.
here we go.
We are going to go for the actual piers. We're gonna go through the. What's
Want me
that?
to read what I've done?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
let
yeah,
her
why don't
read
you go?
back
I'm
to
sorry.
you.
I'll let
Yeah.
you just do it.
Read back my motion.
A rectangular staining, the rectangular bridge with staining, the cut stone surface texture on the inside and the outside with the C3 railing, 6 lookouts, no pylons.
Perfect.
That's my motion.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Nestercon. Any additional discussion or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
On page 98 of the packet, they did talk about possibly adding the Southern Bridge logo to the railings. Did they not recommend that we do that then, or?
Yeah, we don't have that. He downloaded a PDF.
Oh,
I didn't download the PDF. So is
it's
it,
the last, should be the last page.
I'm trying to get to the last page. It doesn't go any further.
I apologize too, because I can't,
So they had something decorative on the rail?
On the railing. They had like 4
Oh,
options.
I know what you're saying, Alderperson Hanson. They,
Must be one of these 4 links, right?
my link ain't showing up. They were talking, referred to the
Oh,
memo
this
that was
part.
part of his,
Oh, we have it.
Kind of.
Yes, that part.
And would that go along all the railings?
that I do not know.
Because my thought was, I do like the Southern Bridge logo, but I also think it might make sense to have the city logo on there too.
Okay, it's in our packet on the second link. Can't flip it around. So, item 11, second link, GV aesthetic options summary. Look at that. And then tilt your head the other way.
Or your computer if it doesn't self-rotate.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Well, you guys have to do your own little. Good job, Betty.
So
How'd
can
you do
we,
it?
that's a very good suggestion, but can that all just come to the council then and you guys have it better prepared that we can look
Yeah,
at
let
it?
me, yeah.
When we
let me
get,
find out about
you
that.
know, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to say we're spinning our wheels here and not.
That sounds good. So for that last one, how do we do that then? You just, in your presentation, just say we got
Yeah.
stuck with this one?
I gotta pull up my, because I know what you're talking. I'll verify with that county, Alderperson.
Okay.
Okay. Any other stuff you saw in there?
Nope.
Good pickup. And that's page what in your packet? In the PDF?
I mean, I'm,
I went to the other method.
No,
now
I know
to
that,
try to
yeah.
See what you
I'm
guys
just-
think. 98.
What
Page 98.
what method are you using?
I just download the whole
You can
agenda
download
as
the
a
PDF.
PDF.
Oh.
It's one of the 4 options you have.
yeah.
We're getting there, people. Boy,
Yeah.
10 years from
We
now.
have a struggle too, so I mean,
Okay, all good? And then he will talk about that. Don't
Yeah.
forget that for
Okay.
Tuesday
you
then.
make note of that, Betty, because I'll probably forget.
All right. Up next,
Yeah,
right? We're
vote.
off the bridge?
You gotta vote.
We got to vote.
Oh, I had the motion, and we have a second. Any additional discussion or comments? One actually just came out. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are building a bridge. Item 12, consideration and possible action on neighborhood watch sign policy. Eric.
Yes, that's me. All right, so we've worked with the police department to put together a neighborhood watch sign policy for your consideration. And really, the driver behind this is 2 things. First, the department got a grant last year for $3,000 to help implement the program, create a sign, make some signs. But in addition to that, there's a lot of old signs scattered around the city that are faded. They're for associations that are no longer active. So the thought is to use this as a catalyst to come up with a new policy and bring it to the board and then hopefully enact it. The just going to kind of give a quick overview, and then if you have any questions, obviously you can, ask. So what we did was we took a look at all the different neighborhood watch associations we have out there, and they're all varying sizes. Some of them are on a cul-de-sac, some of them have multiple entrances. Took a look at what we've done in the past, and in the past, the associations were responsible for purchasing the signs. So what we're looking at for a new policy is the police department's going to oversee everything to make sure that the neighborhood association stays active, that they have meetings and they're an active association. Based on that, you'll have your mapping, which will be done through GIS, and there is a map attached for what the police believe are the neighborhood associations we have now. When they have requests, they will work with the street department to get the signs created and installed. And then the signs would be, the cost of making the sign would be charged back to the association. The cost to install the sign would be taken care of by the street department. So right now, I think we're talking about $30 or $35 a cost per sign. With the new grant, the police department believes they have enough to provide each association up to 2 signs, and I say up to 2 because if you're on a cul-de-sac, technically you probably only need 1 sign because you're on a cul-de-sac. So what we're recommending as part of the policy is, as we go forward and we get beyond the initial stage of the signs, Neighborhood Watch, that's active, could make a request for signs, and signs could go at each entrance into the association. So if you got a huge one and you got all kinds of mid-blocks in between, we wouldn't put them at the mid-blocks. We'd put them only on the entrance points into the association. And in addition to that, we would look to place them on existing signs on the right-hand side of the road. In the past, we placed them on the back of stop signs. We can't do that. Number one, they shouldn't be on the back, and they're not supposed to be on the back of the stop signs. But second, you as a driver, you're paying attention to the signs on the right, unless you're looking at it one way. So you're not looking on your left. So we felt that was part of it also. So that is really what we're recommending. There is a sign that has been created already. I have submitted that to the DOT because per state statute 66.0429 subpart 2 and 3, it has to be approved by the DOT. So I have submitted that. But that is the program we're recommending. So neighborhood association, the first 2 would be funded through the grant. After that, they'd have to be paid for by the association. They could get one for each entrance. They'd have to make a request through the police department. The police department would work with the street department to install them, and then the street department would invoice the association. So that's my brief overview, and that's kind of a summary of the policy.
Good overview. Questions, comments, or motion?
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Hanson. Additional discussion or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, so I've been talking to the police chief about this last about year and a half, 2 years. So I'm really excited to see this moving forward. Back in fall of 23, our communications specialist, Andy Pantzlaff, did do a design to peer aware with like an eyeball city logo. We report all suspicious activity to the police. Is that still the same design?
Yeah, I believe it is. Tony sent it to me from the street department, and I know it was De Pere where I didn't read the whole thing. And
I'm
so
about
that was
99% sure it is.
Okay.
That's the one I submitted to the state, and I'm just waiting to hear back.
Yeah.
So they have to approve it then.
Yeah, according to the state statute, which I didn't know, but that's what it says.
If you can email myself or Andy
Yeah.
tomorrow, we can double check that one. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, in the past, I've supported just the city paying for the signs, but the fact that we're going to offer 2 free signs, which I think should be sufficient for pretty much all the associations, I'm okay with that then.
And we will be paying. We will pay to. We're not charging for the installation, so it's just making the sign.
And it gives them ownership too,
Yeah.
I would think, and that's pretty important. I mean, it's all been brought up and it's gotten this far, et cetera, because of a number of people, which is a good thing. Plus, we have these all cataloged now in the DIME system, so we know exactly where they are. We can get the old ones out, of which, by the way, have they identified all the old ones? Are they pretty much? Have they found all the old signs?
Well, I found one that wasn't on this map.
I have a strong feeling over the next 5 years
There's going to be probably a few more.
which is fine, actually, good awareness as well too,
Yep.
so people realize that it's out there.
That means our officers aren't doing their job. Driving down the streets and paying attention to what's going on, they're missing signs.
Yeah. I think a couple will pop up here and there, but that's good though. That's a good thing. Yeah. Uniformity is good. Other questions or comments? I commend all who got involved in this. This will be good. That Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, and I think it is good we take down the inactive signs. I think it's kind of got to the point where people just ignore the signs now because they have this assumption that most of the signs aren't even really valid anymore. So it kind of undercuts the effectiveness of the signs for the associations that are active. So
Totally agree. Very good. Other questions or comments? All right. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 13, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2417 Community Center Relay. I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Carpenter. Discussion or comments or anything anyone wants to add from staff? Alderperson Carpenter.
So as they're trying to read through this, is this something that just happened or was this planned? I mean, I don't remember this in our,
We had it planned. So we had some funding set aside in the 2023 budget, and then we increased it because we wanted to do a little bit more in the 2024, and so we finally got it bid. So
Okay,
it
so
was
I know
planned.
where- okay.
The pipe was been collapsing, but it obviously hasn't completely collapsed yet, but it has been planned.
so this is more of that big box sewer?
Yeah, so we're going to replace the piece that was already replaced years ago, but we are going to replace more of it and try to get the sanitary out. So in the community center area from Grant Street to the railroad, we'll be taking that section and separating them and being done with it.
And I assume you did this, so my other question is, this is a total contractor that we've never seen before.
That is true.
So Mike, I just don't,
So as part of our process, we do go through it with pre-qualifications. And so if they pass the pre-qualifications, then we approve them. Is there a risk? Yes. The good news is it's not a huge, I mean, it's a big contract, but it's a very dense area. We pre-qualified them, so it'd be hard to,
so it's just, so it's not a company that just went belly up in the last 3 years and now has just switched their name
correct.
and come around. That's all, that's just my concern.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's one that just went belly up from doing a project near our community. So I just,
No, this is, they've been around.
okay. thank
Not
you.
here, but they've been around.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Where am I here?
I gotta get,
Item 14, consideration and possible action on the state municipal financial agreement for Wisconsin DOT for the I-41-Southbridge Road Interchange. Eric.
That's me. Yeah, just getting the right tab up. Getting used to the software myself. So, if you recall, we've got construction going on right now at the I-41 Southbridge Generations Boulevard interchange. This past year, we had some utilities relocating for the fill that's taking place. This is the next part of it. So they're bidding out the concrete work and some of the amenities that we just talked about, things like that, that they're doing in the I-41 corridor are included with that. So we have a small amount of cost associated with some of the architectural surface treatments, some of the staining and the concrete, and then minor sewer and water work. And I've given you the percents, but really the architectural surface treatment with stabbed concrete and the roundabouts, that's 20% to the city because that roundabout, it's the roundabout that is in our jurisdiction. The concrete staining and the overpass, we have to pay 10%, and the town has to pay 10% because it's through both communities, and then 10% of the cost for the sewer and the water. So our total cost is estimated at the state municipal financial agreement to be $3,631. So it's a relatively low amount, but again, that is an estimate.
On a $50 million interchange.
I will make a motion.
I'm going to make a motion to approve very quickly before it goes out.
I'll second it.
All right, motion by me, second by Alderperson Carpenter. Any additional discussion or comments? That is amazing. 3,000. Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, just a quick aesthetic question. The other overpasses on I-41 have the name of the street facing the oncoming traffic on 41. Do we know if they're going to include the name of the road, Generations Boulevard?
Don't know if they are because,
Didn't they want that information way back when, so that would go on there?
Yeah, maybe.
Remember, it was
that's
brought
why.
up, it's like, you have to get the decision right now, because 2 years ago today,
Yes, the name was supposed to be.
oh no,
yes.
I mean, yeah. I'm not sure.
I mean, that's
We'll
what I
have to-
thought.
we'll-
That's
we'll
what
have
they
to-
needed.
We'll have to look into it, I'm not sure.
Okay.
could you check into that then?
Yep.
And- Yeah. Thank you. Other questions or comments?
I- I know on the exit signs they would have it, but I'm not sure on the bridge. So we'll
It's worth
verify
looking
it.
into.
We'll verify it.
Okay.
All right, that said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 15, consideration and possible action on state municipal financial agreement, first revision for State Highway 32 from Merrill Street to Cook Street. Eric?
Yeah, so this is for the project right outside of City Hall here, going down to Cook Street. And the SMFA was originally $19,550. It's increased to $42,500 for our portion of the work. We have to fund 25% of the design work. And part of that is there has been some increase in scope of the project. One of the things which is probably a benefit to the city is they are adding sidewalk in now
Great
between Beaumere and Cook, because that was part of this kind of evaluated as a hazard, and they needed to put that in. So those are some of the things that have increased the cost of the project, and that's why we have the revision.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, Alderperson Hanson, second by Alderperson Carpenter. Questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, very excited about the sidewalk. Eric, are they also adding curb and gutter? And then are we going to be responsible for the sidewalk cost, or is that entirely them?
The sidewalk cost is included with the project.
Yeah.
We will have to
Maintain it.
Yeah.
kind of like we do on the other ones, because they butt up to the back lots. And the curb and gutter, they are putting in curb and gutter just on that one side. They're not urbanizing the whole road,
Right.
just the one side, because if they couldn't put a ditch, otherwise the water would be running over the sidewalk. So yes, but just by the sidewalk.
Okay. On the east side.
Correct.
Other questions or comments?
Oh, what year, Eric, is it scheduled for? 27, I think, or 28?
I don't recall.
One of the two.
What's
Okay.
that? I don't recall. I have to
Okay.
apologize. I think it's a couple years out. I'll look. I mean,
All right.
we can bring it back or send you an email and let
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
But I thought it was in the 20s, so it wasn't in the 30s. I thought it was
Yes, it was.
more
Yep.
recent. So
I'm just trying to think how it fits in with Main and Reed.
Well, we're gonna pull it up right now.
other questions or comments? That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 16.
27.
27.
27.
Thanks.
16, consideration and possible action on updates to 2024 general conditions and standard specifications. Eric,
You say that with such
do you have,
no lack of
do you have a
excitement.
brief version?
Really, I can go into as many details. There are not a lot of revisions. This is all pretty minor stuff. I think the biggest thing is we tweaked our tracer wire spec just a little bit because we had some recommendations that we should use a different coating, and so we modified that, and then we also upped the size for when we're doing pipe bursting. Couple minor modifications to the water main. I don't know, would you like me to go over in great detail, or it's really up to you guys?
I've read it through. Anyone have any specific questions you want to ask? Alderperson Hanson.
Just a quick question on the manholes. That flexo ring looks like it's kind of a rubber material. I know, like with the new rubber grade crossing on the railroads, it kind of reduces the vibration of the vehicles going over. Is that what we anticipate could happen with this?
Yeah,
manhole
so
too?
we've been using 2-inch rubber rings of various types for quite a while now. This is just another manufacturer, but we do believe it kind of eliminates some of the wear and tear on the rings underneath, because when you build a manhole, you can only get it so close, right? And then they use concrete rings underneath to bring it to the correct elevation. When we put that rubber ring on there, it does absorb some of that energy from going down into the manhole. Yes, that's what we feel.
Very good. Thank you. Other questions or comments? Yeah, unless there's something really,
No, everything was pretty minor. Just reflecting what we're seeing, in the industry, adding some things we've been doing. Like, one of the bigger ones is we're using Type 1L cement in our concrete. We used to use Type 1. It's something that the DOT is using because you don't make as much carbon, produce as much carbon when you're making the cement. So we used it last year. The DOT is using it and everything. It works good. So it's just kind of following the DOT. Everything is pretty minor.
Would the contractors have any heartburn with any of these changes or
No.
modifications? I mean,
No.
they're the ones that you'd have heartburn with, I imagine. They're okay. All right. Do we need a motion on this, or is
Yes.
this information? We do.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, seconded by Alderperson Carpenter. Additional discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Up next, future agenda items. Anyone have anything?
No future surprises.
No future surprises.
Shorter agendas?
No, this is when we go and open our agenda.
Oh,
New software.
oh, you want this to stay kind of okay. Yeah. Well, there'll be surprises.
No more
For the better.
So the person that actually gets a lot of kudos is because she's taken on. We're the first guinea pigs on this
We are.
prize here.
For the record, speaking on that,
Oh.
is it working better? Everyone said it's going to work a lot better for you guys regarding this new system we have, Civic Plus.
There's still kinks to work out in it.
Everyone said it was going to work a lot better and there'd be no kinks.
I know it's new.
That's why we did that.
We're still learning. But
Still learning.
Minute Track had a lot of weird things on the back end that you guys didn't see, but making the agenda and making the minutes and making the system work was kind of a pain in the butt. So far this seems to be working well.
Okay, good to hear. We'll follow that as we go.
Only get better.
That
Ask me
said,
again tomorrow.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Esther Khan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're officially adjourned. Thank you, everybody.